culture equals engagement, which therefore equals profit, right? So having a culture and being able to dictate what that is and make sure that that is upheld is incredibly important. When we talk about our core values as a company, ambition, dedication, willing to accept responsibility, one of the key things though is integrity. And to me, integrity is the most important thing to uphold your reputation in the industry. People want to work for a company that has integrity. And, it takes a lifetime to build it up, but it takes 30 seconds to tear it down. So.
Oh, yeah. And that's just it, right? Is, if you get one bad apple, if you leave them in, allow them to erode that, right? It's like, yeah, you can kiss it goodbye quickly.
Hire slow, fire fast, right?
Yeah, that's what they say. Hello, and welcome to the Elevator Careers podcast, brought to you by the Allred Group. I'm your host, Matt Allred. Does your workforce need a lift? At the Allred Group, we are committed to connecting your company with top talent that matches your needs. Give us a call at 404-890-0445. In this episode, I sat down with Blake Pilgrim, president of Wurtec, to discuss his experiences with leadership in the elevator industry. Blake shared key lessons he's learned, difficult decisions he's had to make in this position, and his views on the future of elevator technology. Blake, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Matt. It's a pleasure being here. I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, thank you. It was great seeing you at the NAEC conference recently, and I've been looking forward to this. Have wanted to talk to you for a while and just learn more about your career, about the company. And so, first question I want to throw out at you is just, what was your journey like into the elevator industry, and is this a direction you ever thought you would go?
Yeah, thanks for that question. The answer is unequivocally no. It is not the direction I ever thought I would go. I was fortunate enough to meet my bride at the University of Dayton, and her family just happened to be in an industry that I knew nothing about. What I can say is I always had a desire to work for a small family-owned company. I got to experience that a little bit in high school, working for a company by the name of Triad. They're a supplier of ours. Nice. And I thought, man, what a cool lifestyle, that these people have been able to afford. And in 2012, I was afforded the opportunity to come over and be a part of it. And it's been a blessing ever since.
That's cool. What would you say are some of the biggest lessons you learned early on that still shape the way you run Wurtec today?
Yeah, I think the lessons I've learned, and man, I guess I'll categorize them as three, and I've learned a lot of lessons. But number one is culture equals engagement, which therefore equals profit, right? So I think having a culture and being able to dictate what that is and make sure that that is upheld is incredibly important. The other is, if you're not growing, you're dying. I know a lot of people say that, but I truly believe that, just even from a P&L standpoint, people want raises, everything goes up in expense, right? So you have to continue growing, not only from a revenue standpoint, but also from kind of a lifelong learning standpoint. And I like to think I embody both of those. And then I've really learned this, I'll just say, over the last 5 years. And it sounds silly because I'm an accounting finance guy, but if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And that's a Peter Drucker quote, but it's so important as your company gets larger that you have KPIs in place and a true understanding of what's happening on a daily basis. If not, you'll look back 30 days and say, how did we get where we are? So I've really taken this philosophy of, hey, we need some real-time KPIs and transparency into what's happening in the organization. So
yeah, no, those are good. I'm just a little bit on the culture thing, and talking about how important that is. What would you say is the most important thing to make sure that the culture stays strong and vibrant?
Yeah, so I think the most important thing, number one, is being in tune and being seen by your company, right, as the leader. But it's definitely leading by example. When we talk about our core values as a company, ambition, dedication, willing to accept responsibility, one of the key things though is integrity. And to me, integrity is the most important thing to uphold your reputation in the industry. People want to work for a company that has integrity. And, it takes a lifetime to build it up, but it takes 30 seconds to tear it down. So.
Oh, yeah. And that's just it, right? Is, if you get one bad apple, if you leave them in, allow them to erode that, right? It's like, yeah, you can kiss it goodbye quickly.
Hire slow, fire fast, right?
Yeah, that's what they say. Yeah. I mean, and as you journeyed right through the organization, right? Was there a moment in your career where you realized you weren't just working in the business anymore, but you were actually leading it? And what did that look like?
So one thing we all know is it takes a lot of time to get some street cred within this industry, right? I think there are so many smart people and subject matter experts that can call your BS so quickly.
Sure.
So I guess internally, what I'll say is always learn that I think you are or you're becoming a leader when people start looking at you in a meeting setting because they want your opinion or they want you to help make an answer. So I remember the day that that happened. Steve and I were talking about it. We were talking about succession planning, and I think he even mentioned to me. He said, "Blake, I sat back in this past leadership team meeting, and I saw people look to you to help make the answer, and that's a great sign, right?"
Yeah. That's cool. I know for myself, having even elsewhere, right, in like a nonprofit, I had a leadership role. It took me a while to believe it, right? And I think that you know people looking at you or me in that case, and if I'm not yet feeling it, then they're like, okay, who is running this show? Because he's not yet believing it. It felt too much to me at the time, right? So it
Sure.
took me, I don't know, maybe a couple of years to really wrap my head around this idea that, oh,
Embrace it. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah. I think we all get. I definitely still get imposter syndrome. I mean, am I am I really the right person for this role? Like, why me kind of thing? Am I trying to act like somebody else? But I think that's pretty natural, right? And
Sure,
um,
sure.
times I
I
think
think
I need
it's
to go see a shrink. But
right. No, I think it's very a common human experience, I believe, and yet ultimately you just have to look inside and say, all right, well, I'm it. So we forge ahead. So very cool.
do the best
What?
you can.
Yeah, exactly. What do you say has been one some of the most difficult decisions you've had to make as a CEO, and what did that teach you about running the company?
Yeah, usually, the toughest decisions are around people, right?
Hmm.
Maybe you've had somebody that's worked for you for 30 years and they've kind of gone different ways within the company. And you get to a point where you've kind of outgrown them and it's hard for them to see that. So just having those tough conversations because I care deeply about everybody at Wurtec and we have roughly 170 people right now, and that's 170 families that are looking at me to make the right decision. I don't know if that answers your question, but
No, I think
uh,
it does. Yeah.
typically around people. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, one of my recent guests really said the same thing. He'd gone from mechanic to vice president of a major elevator corporation, right? And realizing that there's a time at which if someone becomes a cancer or they've kind of brought that into the organization, you do have to make difficult decisions, and it may be time to let them go, but it still can be heart wrenching, right? It's a difficult thing to do, but his experience was that, the organization is better off, right? It may hurt for a time, but ultimately, the organization is going to live and it's going to thrive and it's going to be better. So I
do the
totally
right
get that.
thing. Do the right thing for the other 169 people, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
puts
Because
the
they're
greater
being
good.
affected by it too, for sure. Yeah. So obviously Wurtec sits at a very interesting part of the industry. Obviously you don't sell the elevators, you don't own the buildings, but you support the people who do the work. And what are the tools and equipment side of the industry see that maybe others don't see?
Yeah, I think first of all, Vertex in a unique position where we have relationships with only almost every single independent elevator contractor in Canada and in the United States. And then we have relationships with the OEMs and multinationals all the way at the KG or branch level to corporate, right? The factory level. So it's really fun to see the differences in methodology between these companies. One thing that's unique for us is we get to see how the best of the best maybe install elevators, what their methods are, how they modernize, how they service and repair, what kind of technology they're using. And we're able to offer that up to the rest of the market. And we're blessed to be in that position. So
That's cool. Yeah, I'm sure you. In fact, I've heard people say, right, just different contractors. Well, I was doing this, and then I asked Wurtec to kind of help develop a tool, right? I think that's probably a lot of what you do is like, well, let's see if we can build that, right? Let's help you do a great job. But then to your point, it's now available because it's been built. So
yeah, I think at our core, and definitely because Steve Worth, who is an engineer, founded our company. At our core, we're an engineering company, right? We love to collaborate with customers and try to solve their problems. And it's typically around safety and efficiency within a hoistway. We've turned more into a sales organization with some of the talent that we brought on.
sure.
But we'll never lose that innovative kind of engineering side of our business.
Yeah. So my guess is that you have people coming to you and maybe they don't even know how to use some of the efficiency tools, and so you have an opportunity to say, oh well, if you do it this way, then this tool is helpful because you can, and that that's probably like a light bulb going, what, really, you can do
Yeah,
it
we
that.
understand the best practices. You're exactly right. We have to be careful because we don't want to give away some of our
Sure.
customers' proprietary processes, but we certainly understand again how like the best do it from an efficiency and safety standpoint. So it is fun and it opens up a lot of doors. I can't tell you the last time I went to go call on a customer where they're like, we don't want to see you, right? Like
Yeah.
you're kind of they're like, what do you have that's new? How can you help us? So pretty cool place to be.
Yeah. Um, so, I mean, if somebody were to follow a mechanic for a full day, what would you say are some of the biggest inefficiencies or frustrations that they would notice, and how do you then solve those problems?
Yeah, I mean, what comes to mind immediately is they can't find the part or the tool that they need. They're stuck in a hoistway. It's like, shoot, I need whatever it is, this button or this tool. Now I have to go find the Wurtec catalog or whatever the C's catalog. I think that's probably very frustrating. So what we've tried to do is create, basically an e-commerce platform. And what we'd love to do some days become the Amazon of the elevator industry, right? Like everybody kind of in it's the one stop shop. But we're working on that. The other piece is tech support. I think specifically as you get into like the 2019 text video code, you're asking these mechanics to become network professionals, right? And you're asking Wurtec, who is used to making false cars and rail blocks, to understand IT and networks, right? So we've all kind of grown on this learning curve together, and we continue to invest in that because we know that is a massive pain point for the elevator companies.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming you've had to augment your tech support teams. I mean, I know you came out with the Workcom intercom communication system, and so now, like you say, you've got some different pieces that aren't just a metal tool, but it's software, it's communications,
You
all of
said
that.
augment the team, and that's 100% accurate. We actually think of ourselves more as a technology company now than anything, right? And
Right.
the number of software engineers that we've hired, and what we've taken is we've taken IT people and said, hey, we're going to teach you about an elevator,
Oh
and how
wow.
to help, yeah, how to help our customers troubleshoot. So we definitely augmented, and again, staying true to our core of tools and helping people install and modernize elevators. But we've got this whole other segment of our business
Right.
related to software and
Yeah.
IT.
When I
So,
said augment, right, maybe you've doubled. I don't as far as the tech support, it's like, oh yeah,
oh,
we we doubled our team
yeah.
size.
Yeah, well, that definitely has happened. Um, so it's just the way
Understood.
it goes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. What would you say is the thing that separates the best from the average, right? From your vantage point, as far as tools or efficiencies, or maybe it's mindset.
Yeah, I think number one, it starts with what are your core values or what do you believe in? And we believe in customer centricity, right? Like we absolutely want to take care of the customer. Now, we believe taking care of our people allows that to happen, right? So 100% we try to treat our people with the most respect and give them the tools they need to be successful. Then it's like, hey, customers number one, right? They're the ones paying the bills, keeping the lights on. We got to take care of them. But I think the most important thing is that at Wurtec, we're able to think long term. We are a privately held family company. I think I mentioned to you before, we want to be in this business for another 100 years
Sure.
as a privately held family business. And that just allows us to make decisions, looking out 5 years, not how do we just make a dollar today. So
Yeah. And good point, right? You got to take care of the customer. You got to take care of the relationship, and they've got to know that they can come to you, they can rely on you, and their business is very much dependent upon you showing up with tech support and with tools and with support and all those things that they need. So, I mean, from where you sit, what would you say are some of the biggest challenges happening in the elevator industry right now that maybe people aren't talking about yet?
Hmm. I think it's a great question. I think of things like the harmonization of the elevator code, right? And the idea that we may be going to some ISO standard. I can see that that would be really important for some of the contractors, the global ones specifically. Able to have this like one global concept. So I'm guessing that's a challenge for some of our customer base. I think people are talking about this, but there's obviously a knowledge gap between kind of like the Steve Worth generation and my generation of the technology that's come out, and how do I even work on that? How do I even understand what's wrong with the elevator, right? If I'm in the hoistway, now we have these smart controllers. The idea there is it's kind of like just points you in the right direction to solve whatever issue may be at hand. Where historically that would not be the case. Other challenges, I mean, people talk about it, right? But it's constant with, price increases and inflation. It's just really hard to manage. And I could see that if you didn't have the staff to help you manage that, you look down at your financials one day and you wonder why you lost money, right?
Sure.
I mean, it's just constant. I'm not sure that's ever going to end. So that's really important. I think those are the three things that come to mind, and I'm sure there are 20 others.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, there's a lot of talk about labor shortages and technology and consolidation. And which of those do you think will have the biggest impact on the industry over the next, say, 10, 15 years?
I think it's going to be technology. I think the days of come visit my elevator, whatever, once a month or once a year and tell me what's wrong, and then I'm going to trust that you're going to fix it, are going to be over. At some point, it's going to be more like, hey, your check engine light is on, or hey, you're getting a diagnostics report from GMC, right? GMC is telling you everything that's going on with your elevator, and you're only going to service it as needed. Obviously, there's code complications with that, but I just think everything is going to get smarter, and we're going to have to learn to adapt to that. And the days of just going out and seeing what's wrong with the elevator without any knowledge are going to be over.
So. Yeah, and maybe we've already passed that in some ways, just because I hear a lot of buzz out there, right? But it's not everybody's, I guess, saying that, and I don't know, right? I'm just an outside observer, but that's a good point.
Sure.
How do you see the role of the mechanic changing over the next decade as the tools, technology, and equipment evolve?
Yeah, I think we're already seeing it. I think they're going to have to become more masters of technology. They're going to have to understand building infrastructure maybe more than they do today, more of like a network attitude, because with everything becoming smarter, you're probably going to turn less wrenches, and it's going to be more about using your brain and technology, would be my guess.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I mean, obviously, there's already from welding to electrical to mechanical to pneumatic to, right, there's all these pieces. Oh yeah, learn software, learn coding, learn, networking. It's a lot. Yeah.
And with the advent of MRLs and just different technology, it's going to be less like, how do we rig and hoist this massive thing into the hoistway? It's going to be more, how do we make everything smaller and use less tooling and more technology, right? So
yeah,
cool. And there's a ton of opportunity there.
For sure. Yeah, it's kind of being constantly reinvented, right? There's always new pieces, new technology, new things coming out. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. So last question I have for you. If you were advising a 20-year-old who was considering a career in the elevator industry, what path would you tell them to take and why?
Yeah, there's the office side, I'll call it, the business side of the industry, and there's what I'll call the actual, mechanic or helper side of the industry. I think it's incredibly important for you to understand technically how an elevator works. And I missed that, right? I wish there was an opportunity for me to get on a job site for 2 years and really understand how to install and modernize and service an elevator. I think that could serve me well in my role today. I've had to learn just from talking with customers, engineers, and doing my own research. So I'd say if you really want to be an elevator man, get into the trade. But if you want to go more on the business side, I think an engineer is the way to go. So those are who customers want to talk to. You're the one that's going to help them solve their issues, whether it be on the supply side or even on the contracting side.
Yeah, no, thank you for that answer. And I'm intrigued because it was, both of them speak to the technical nature, right? Either learn hands-on or, become an engineer, and whether you're supporting sales or design or whatever, the value of knowing from top to bottom, side to side, up and down, every little piece and how they all work cannot be overstated from my experience in the industry.
Yeah, that's where the credibility comes from, right?
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, what we're talking about is the safety of the riding public, but also the safety of the people installing the elevator. And there's a lot of technical prowess that goes into making sure everybody's safe. So
absolutely. Yeah. No, that's a great point. Blake, anything else you'd like to say before we wrap up today?
No, I mean, I think we're all blessed to be in such a wonderful industry with great leaders, people that are trying to do the right thing every day. And, with change comes opportunity. And I believe that for the next 100, 150 years, if we all see things through an open mind, there's so many great things that we can bring to all of our companies.
Yeah.
And I'll just kind of leave it there.
No, that's great. Thank you again for being with me today. I've enjoyed it. Appreciate your insights, and yeah, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Elevator Careers podcast, sponsored by the Allred Group, a leader in elevator industry recruiting. Please visit our YouTube channel at Elevator Careers or check us out online at elevatorcareers.net. Please like and subscribe, and until next time, stay safe.